Welcome back, guys. In this video we are going to see page level commands. So basically the commands that we can perform on a page and the browser. Okay, so normally what are the commands normally we do on the browser is we open a browser and we open a page, the tab, and then we can navigate to an URL, and then we can fetch the URL where we have navigated, and we can get the title of that web page, and we can get the page source, the source code present on the page, and then we can close the page and we can close the browser. Other than these commands, we have other commands like going back and going forward. So these are the page level commands. So in this video we are going to see this thing one by one. Okay, so before we jump into it, so first let's import the Chromium, okay, from the Playwright. Okay, for that purpose I'm going to use const Chromium equals to require from which package we want to do it, Playwright. Okay, once we import it, let me hide this thing. Once we import it, we have to create a async block to execute our functions and code. Okay, so create async block, async, giving a method. Fine, so the basic configuration is done and we have to call the async block. Okay, so this is just you can put it anywhere, but as a normal standard practice, normally they will put it after closing it. So we have to create a browser. Okay, so this is basically how we launch a browser or how we open a browser. Okay, so the browser is going to be a constant, so we can create it as a constant. Browser equals to Chromium, basically whatever we are importing here, we have to use the same one. Okay, Chromium dot launch, LAUNCH. Okay, so here I am going to go with the headless mode, headless false. Okay, so I have created only this much. Let's run whether it runs errorless or not. Okay, so it says like async function error. So this one we have seen in the first video. We have to close it using semicolon for the require statement. Okay, so now let's again run it. Basically this will not launch the browser if I'm not wrong. It just makes it ready. Okay, so that's all. So here we have not completed the code, so it is just waiting there. Okay, I'm going to end it here, and if I want to close the browser, I'm going to use basically you have to use actually here we have to put a await actually. Okay, await Chromium launch, so it will launch. If you want to execute again, you can execute it. Let's keep on executing because we don't have a close function here. Okay, so I'm going to stop it, and now I'm going to close the browser dot close. Okay, but this one also has to be await function. It has to be it should wait for this particular browser to close. Okay, now let's run it. You cannot see anything opening or anything closing here. Okay, it is because we are not opening a page, the tab in the browser. Okay, we are just preparing a environment for the tab. Okay, for example, let's say this is one, this is totally one browser, but if I don't have a tab, will I have a browser? No, right? That is the reason you don't see a browser here. Okay, now let's open a tab or a page. Okay, so here I'm going to say const page equals to await. Here we have to use the browser. So in the created environment, we have to open the page. Okay, so this environment basically I'm talking about the browser. Okay, browser dot new page. Okay, now we are opening a new page. So for closing a page, again we have to use a method called close, but we will be using on the page object. Okay, all right, page dot close. Okay, now if I do it, if I run it, basically it will open a browser and a tab and it will close it immediately. Okay, opened and closed, and that is all with the opening and closing. So now we know how to open a browser and how to close a browser, how to open a page and how to close a page. Okay, now there is one more command here that you can normally use. You can see console.log. You can see whether a page is opened, whether it is in an open state or a closed state. Okay, maybe this kind of a function will be useful when you want to close the page and reopen it again, because sometimes what happens is, like, when you execute automation by frequently opening the pages and closing the pages, it will take some memory. Okay, so if end of or something, end of the function or something, if you have this kind of whether, if you can know that whether the page is closed or not, based on that one you can close it if it is not already closed. Okay, so the function is, again I'm going to use the await page dot is closed. Okay, so is closed is a function. I already told you guys how to check whether it's a function or not in VS Code. So it is simple. It will have a method. Okay, here in the brackets it will say method. Okay, that means it's a function. Okay, you have to add it. By default it will not add. Okay, now we have added it. Now we can see, like, whether it is closed or not. Okay, similarly we can say after closing whether it is closed or not. Sorry, it is not checked, it is closed. Okay, let me execute it. So this time also, first it says false, okay, because it is not yet closed, and second time it says true because it is closed now. Okay, the same function you cannot use it for a browser. Okay, it will not work. So now we check opening a browser. We check opening a browser, opening a page, closing a page, and closing a browser. And you have to keep in mind that you have to close the page before the browser. Okay, if you try to close the page after the browser, means the browser is already destroyed, so you will not have a page object itself. Okay, it will throw an error. Fine. Okay, now we want to navigate to a particular page. Okay, let's say open URL. Okay, in case if I want to open a URL, I will be saying await page dot go to. Okay, so we can say something like go to Google. Okay, that is the easiest way. Okay, now I want the page to go to Google. Now let's see whether we are getting it or not. Okay, let's run. It should go to Google page and then it should close. Yeah, Google page opened and it got closed. Fine. So once the page is opened, sometimes we might want to check the what is the opened URL. Basically, you open a particular URL, but is it the same URL got opened? Okay, so for that one we will be using URL. Okay, we are going to get the URL. Await page dot URL. So here if you see, it is a method. Okay, but we have to put it in a console block so that we will get to know, like, whether it is there or not. It is getting it or not. Okay, so let's run it. The browser is open behind and it says https www.google.com. so here we have typed https google.com. Here if you see, it says https /s www.google.com, because even if you open it manually, okay, google.com, okay, what it will open is google.com only, what you can see it here. Okay, but if you copy it into a notepad or something, you will see the total URL. Okay, https www.google.com. okay, with the recent web technologies and all, they have started hiding this www dot. Okay, and also the https, but when you see normally you can't see them, but when you copy paste it will come. Okay, so it is opening correctly. So once it opens correctly, then we might need to check whether the title is right or not. Okay, so title is not anything here, but it will be present in the tab. Whatever you see in the tab, right, that is title. Okay, how does it take it as a title? How do we consider that as a title? Okay, so when you press Ctrl U, or when you right click and see a page source, okay, Ctrl U, in this one it has a lot of content. Okay, but if you search for title, okay, so it will try to fetch this particular value, this particular title. Okay, you can see it here, right, Google. So this is what it's going to be present. Even in this page, this is one of my practice page. So here if you see title, it's going to say practice drop downs, and the same thing you can see it here. Okay, so here practice drop down, and in the tab you can see it as a practice drop down. So everything will be present under the head. Okay, that will not be present into a page, but in the tab levels it will be present. Okay, so now let's try to get the header. Okay, so let me remove spaces so that it will be easier to see. Let me pull it down. Okay, so now we got the URL. So let's get the page title. For getting a page title, we will be using a method called title. Okay, so here I'm going to say console.log, and I'm going to await till it fetches so page.title. Okay, so here you can see it is the method. Okay, so if I print it, it should print Google. Okay, let's print it. Okay, let's execute, and it should print the URL and the title. It prints the URL here and the title here. Okay, now instead of making it easier, I'm going to type it as URL and then I'm add it. Okay, here I'm going to say title. Okay, now we are going to have it like this. Okay, now we got the title as Google. So next thing what we can get is, we can get the page source. Just now we were talking, this particular thing is the page source of that particular web page that we have built it here. So this will be the source code of Google page, whatever you can see it here. Okay, so now let me clear the screen and now get the page source. So for that one will be, let me type the command. So here I'm going to use console.log only, console.log await page dot. Okay, so here I'm going to use a page source. Sorry, it's a get page source. Okay, so this is one thing is missing with okay. Let's see, I'm not sure. Okay, so basically it is not allowing the page source. Okay, so it is not allowing the page source. We cannot fetch the page source. In case if I find it, I'll update you guys on the page source. Okay, the next command. Okay, let's not stick it here, let's keep on moving. Okay, the next command we can have closing a page, that we have seen already, and then we have seen the closing the browser as well. Okay, so let's see navigation commands. Okay, navigate back. So what is navigate back? Let's open the browser. Okay, so here bring it. Okay, here we can see a couple of things. Instead of that one, I just want to have a new tab. Okay, when normally you open a page, Okay, you will see something like this one, empty and empty. So this is the back and this is the forward and this is the refresh. Okay, when we say navigate commands, basically it points to this. Okay, now for using a backward, when I open a tab, is it possible for me to navigate back? This is a new tab. So is it possible for me to navigate back? Because it is not enabled, because there is no page to go back. Okay. So for example, let me go to bing.com. Okay. Once I go to bing.com, we'll get this back enabled. Okay. Now we can go back. So it will go to an empty tab. Okay, once we go back, then only we will have a forward, because now we have come back. Now we can go back. Now we have come back, so we can go forward. Okay, so if from the Bing you cannot go forward, okay, that is a little bit tricky. So when you open a new page, it will not have option to go back or a forward. Okay, but once you go to a page, then the back button will be enabled, but the forward button will not be enabled, because it does not know what is in the forward. Okay, so once you come back from the page, now the back button enabled, so you came back. Now the forward button also will be enabled, because now the browser knows where it was previously. Okay, so now for that purpose I'm going to use title. So here we are opening Google, right? So once we open Google, now let's go to some other page. Okay, let's say navigate to Bing. Okay, bing.com. Okay, it will open the Bing. Now once it opens the Bing, then we have a back option. Okay, so the back option is back should be the Google. Okay, so here it will print the title. Again I want to print the title. Okay, but before that I want to introduce. Okay, let me print it first. Okay, title 1, let's say title 1 and title 2. Okay, now we have to move back. Okay, so await page dot, it's a go back. Okay, we are trying to go back now. So now we are in a Bing, it will go back to Google. Okay, so let's print the title here. What is going to be the thing? Now from the Bing, if it goes back, it should be Google here. Okay, so once it go back, now the forward button will be enabled. So now we can use the forward. So I'm going to copy this thing, and instead of a go back, I'm going to write go forward. Okay, so it will go forward. This is the forward and this is a back. Okay, let me pull it a little down. Now I hope you guys can see it. So here instead of a title 4, I'm going to say title 3, title 4. So first it goes to Google and fetches the URL. Second, it fetches the title, which is Google. So now we are going to bing.com. So here the title is going to be Bing. So now again we are coming back. Okay, so from Bing, if we come back, it will be a Google. Okay, so that's going to be title 3. And from the Google, again we are going forward. Okay, that is going to be title 4. Okay, now let's execute this thing. Okay, node and then file name. First Google is opening. Now it's Bing opened and came back to Google and then went to Bing. Okay, so now if you feel like it is went too fast, let me add little bit of wait page dot wait for timeout. Okay, this is kind of a sleep. Okay, so it will, let's say like 3 seconds. 3 seconds is equal to 3000 milliseconds. Okay, so here it calculates in the milliseconds. Okay, I'm adding it for everything. Even before closing the thing, we are going to add. So now this is the code. First goes to Google, you prints URL and title, and then goes to Bing, prints the title, and then comes back. Now it will try to print the title, and then goes forward and tries to print the title. Okay, so now let's run it. Okay, Google. Now it should go to Bing, and now it should come back to Google again. Now it should go to Bing. Okay, now we have not closed this thing. Yeah, it's closed because in the end we have closed it, right? So yes, now first it went to Google and then came back to Bing and then Google and then Bing. Okay, so these are the page level commands that are present in Playwright. Okay, so now I hope you are clear with the page level commands. If you have any doubt, you can leave the comment below so that I can answer it, or I can create a new video for that. Okay, so don't hesitate to leave a comment. So even if it's a small or a big, if you have a doubt, just leave the question there. Okay, thank you guys. That's all for this video.